Winter continues as we march into the weekend. We've got some areas getting snow tonight, and we have some areas that are going to be getting snow Saturday night into Sunday. And we're going to be talking about that. And we've got His Eminence Terence Cardinal Tolerus on tonight to discuss the short and the long range. He has his Who in Whoville hat ready to go. And we're ready to go right here on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And you can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. If you shop on Amazon, use our referral link that's on the description of this podcast on YouTube. It gets you to Amazon. You get your stuff. Amazon throws us back a little bit of coin for sending you there out of their pocket and not yours. And it's an easy, simple way to support the podcast, because if you do that, we can keep the live version commercial free, and we still have. So don't forget, do your holiday shopping on Amazon. And for the weather geek in your life, Tempest by WeatherFlow has a wonderful weather station available that runs off your mobile device, uses solar power, so no wires, and you'll be part of the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link for this is pinned to the top of the chat board, and it's also on the descriptor to this podcast. Joe Rayo, and only Joe Rayo, with the exception of Rich Rothmansky, knows the coupon code.
The coupon code remains at autumn 2025, and there's also a holiday coupon code. You'll have to get that if you go to the Tempest website, but whatever, if you use the code, you will get 10% off any purchase at Tempest.
And use the link.
Okay.
Use the link to get you there. Well, we have La Tolerus here tonight, which is always an incredible joy, I guess. But you know how.
Well, sort of like a bad case of herpes. I don't know.
Jesus, Mary, and Saint Joseph, for God's sake, David, can you come up with a slightly tamer metaphor, please? But we're going to do some long range. We're going to do the short range clearly because we've got some snow in the forecast. How long have you been living in Virginia? How long have they allowed you to stay there?
Yeah, well, okay, living and being allowed, they're not necessarily the same thing, but I've been here since 94 or 95, so 30 years.
Okay, so what is that? 31 years. You've spent 31 years there. Do you even remember a single other time where you've had not only two back-to-back snows, it's not even just the two back-to-back snows within days of each other, but the fact that they came in early December?
No, the last time we had this much snow was the December 9th blizzard here in southern half of Virginia. And that was a massive cluster.
What year was that?
That was a massive cluster fornication event because the NWS and everybody else was going 1 to 3 inches, and all the data had this massive wall of snow coming up right up into Richmond and up to Charlottesville. And I mean, there was no data. They had 16, 18 inches all over the place, and they kept going like 2 to 4, 1 to 3, and just, and they got blasted. And so,
what year was
that was the 2009, 2018.
2018.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I had 15, 16 inches. Absolutely blasted with snow.
And you have complained to me about the fact that you actually live in a in a snow hole where you are, or it seemed to be a snow hole.
Right. Well, it goes in cycles, and a lot of times, it's what the problem is. The county I live in is between two rivers. There's the James, the Appomattox. So as a result, we're caught in the confluence of two river bodies, and the elevation here is only 150, 175 feet. So the northwest part of the county elevation is like 380 feet. So it's much further inland. So that's a big difference. It's almost the same elevation as up by Charlottesville almost. And once you get to Charlottesville, you get 800, 700, 900 feet. But so that's what it is. But that was the last big snowstorm. That was unbelievable. I mean, one of the meteorologists on TV was actually specifically citing me the day before. He actually said, I'm not kidding you, Joe. This is what he actually said. He said, now, some people on social media are calling for like 8 to 12 inches of snow or more than 12 south of Richmond. Now, how often do the computer models forecast that and we end up getting it? Almost never. So just we're not going to get that much snow, folks. And he forecasted 1 to 3, and then in the morning and then the evening he went 2 to 4. Okay, and then right along the North Carolina border he went like 3 to 6. I mean, he got absolutely crushed, and he got hate mail you would not believe. He had to apologize on the air. All the meteorologists, all three of them had to say, yeah, this guy got it right, and it was one of my glorious moments. It's like,
very good. That's good.
Better than the Eagles winning the Super Bowl twice.
Right. Joe Rayo, do you have your snow map tonight? Did you do a snow map
I don't.
yet? You didn't do
I don't. I haven't done one.
I see. So I guess I'm alone in that respect. I did an early call snow forecast map, and I might be generous tonight and actually show it. But I was, these weak systems can be so tricky and go in either direction. You get severely under forecasted or severely over forecasted.
And it's in a very narrow band too. It's not in a big band. You have to be right underneath the band. I'm sure somebody in northern New Jersey, Long Island, coastal Connecticut, New York City, maybe down to Philly, is going to get 2 to 6 inches out of this. They could easily, but again, if you're outside of the band, you get bupkis.
Right.
Because it's so fast. It flies off the coast, like gone. So
did you do? So you do early calls. Did you do anything? So a lot of times you'll reach up in this area.
Yeah. I mentioned on the Facebook page that I think that this is like going to be anywhere from 2 to 6 inch band in that area. Now I'm going to do a map on it this evening, like around 11 o'clock or something. But
okay.
So that's what I'm thinking. So.
All right. So
that's my view on it right now.
So let's do that first, and then we can get into the long range. So we'll start with the watches and warnings, like we always do, and we'll get the map up. Joe Rayo, I don't know. That was a slip, Joe. I was gonna I want to bring you into the conversation here. What are you thinking? What are you thinking going forward with respect to the weekend?
I'm thinking, generally speaking, an inch or two. I've seen and I've heard of people like Dave, for example, just suggesting that maybe in some cases as much as 6 inches. The only way that's going to happen is if the storm really blows, or explodes off of the Jersey coast more rapidly than what we think now. Now the problem with the models are that they've been positioning this this wave of low pressure initially. A wave of low pressure at various locations along the northeast and mid-Atlantic region. The NAM has been the most prolific with suggestions of 3, 4, 5 inches of snow out of this, and meanwhile the GFS is, I would say, severely suppressed, so to speak. If you look at it and take it at face value, some of you will hardly see much more than maybe a coating, or maybe even in that much. It seems like most of the action, according to the GFS, is going to take place out over the ocean, and really won't begin revving up until we're pretty well out of the picture for it, or we're out of the range of fire. The European, the Canadian, the Icon, each in their own way have been somewhere in between those two extremes. So for the moment, at least, I'll just say an inch or two, and I'll hope that tomorrow in the afternoon... An
inch or two for the Hudson Valley, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm hoping that tomorrow the models will pretty much be all on the same page, or a lot closer to each other now, as opposed to what I saw this afternoon, which again feels rather widespread, so to speak.
All right, we've got winter storm watches up. This has been a series of this whole pattern. These last couple of weeks has been really interesting to watch, and we're seeing all this moisture coming into the Pacific Northwest, with the jet just sort of basically pointed right into Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, and then these little ripples break off and move along. And the latest one now is in the Ohio Valley. Winter storm watches up for northern and central West Virginia. We actually have winter storm warnings up for north central Kentucky and southeast Indiana at the moment, with winter weather advisories around that in a narrow band. that extends up into central Iowa. We still have lake effect snow warnings in southwestern New York and north central New York, along with various winter weather advisories and even the odd winter storm warning that's up for one county in southwestern New York. And then up in North Dakota, with another one of these ripples coming over the top of the ridge in the west, we have we have winter weather advisories across North Dakota and a plethora of winter storm warnings in the great state of Montana, covering most of the state except the western, the extreme west. So busy, busy, busy from that respect. Are you putting, Dave? Are you expecting to see any of the snow get to you with this first little whipple that's coming along?
Well, the earlier the dam was a little aggressive with it, and the Shref has like Roanoke getting 2.5 inches, and 1 inch as far east as Charlottesville and Farmville, which actually is a town. It's not. I know it's also a game called Farmville, but there's actually a town in Virginia called Farmville, halfway between Richmond and Roanoke. But and that's very possible. I think most of it's going to fall apart as it crosses the mountains. So I'm not particularly. Earlier, I thought I might have a shot at picking up an inch, but I don't think it's going to happen. So
Okay.
it looks like it's most of the data falls apart. So that's what I think is going to happen. If you're in Roanoke and you're in Blacksburg, Christiansburg, and the southwest area, yeah, you could get 2 inches out of maybe 3 in the hills. That's about it.
So we got this low sitting right on the St. Lawrence River,
Yep.
to the northwest of northwestern Maine, and the
Yep.
gradient is still kind of tight down into Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey. That's going to start to relax though as we move through Friday, and then this long stationary boundary that runs from Missouri all the way northwest through western Montana, and then
Yep.
into Canada. It's really warm on the west side of that front. The temperatures in the 50s, and you jump to the east side of the front where you're in the today it was the contrast was bigger yesterday. It's mostly in the 20s to near 30 through the Dakotas, but if you go north through Montana and back into Canada, you start getting into double digit below zeros, and that's the air mass that's going to be coming down for Sunday and Monday into the
Yep.
eastern part of the United States. I think they got a low. They got me getting down to something. I think 11, which for Monday morning, which would be kind of interesting here in North Georgia when it gets down. Actually, when it gets down to 32, people think they have to run their faucets, but you know that I'll leave it to them. And here's the loop tonight, the satellite loop. A lot of moisture continuing to aim toward the Pacific Northwest, and you see that moisture getting pushed southeastward from Montana to the mid-Atlantic states. Our storm system up in eastern Canada is going to slowly inch along, and everybody else is kind of stuck there in between. And radar tonight's got snow across much of central and western Kentucky. Some bands of moderate snow in the darker greens that you see in southern Indiana and also into southern Illinois. And the radar doesn't look half bad for tonight, so
No, it doesn't.
it better fall apart, or there are going to be a lot of busted forecasts
Yeah.
for.
And I got to tell you, even my last call map, which I just posted on the Facebook page, that's more aggressive than anybody else's either. So I'm hoping, this thing better fall apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snow bands coming off the lakes. You can see it there on the radar. We've got some heavier precip also back up through Montana, and some more rain actually, the rain over the last 3 days, we've seen the radars fairly loaded up here. This isn't too bad. Some rain around northwestern Washington, and a bit more of it as you get up further into Canada. And I think we could sort of go ahead and jump here on the models. The interesting thing to me here is the fact that we're 72 hours really from this thing getting being in this system that's coming down, and the models still have a differing view with regards to what the upper low that's over Lake Huron comes Sunday morning and the trough that goes with it, what that looks like. The European has been insistent on this very sharp, positively tilted, yes, northeast southwest, but a very sharp arm that swings around and dives eastward. And the GFS has been very insistent with, although today's is a little sharper, but on the whole, it's it's been weaker. It's had a weaker arm coming through. Where are you? How do you stand on this? Which model?
Oh,
Which model you think? Which model do you think has the better handle?
my view is I think the
Yes.
European does. I think the
Okay.
European handles it much better than GFS at this point. And the fact that the GFS is starting to sharpen up the trough just tells me that it's right. I mean, so you know, the storm at the end, the early December, which had rain on all the big cities of I-95 and snow in the mountains, the European got that one right first, and less than anybody else. My two snowstorms, the European nailed that very well. So I happen to think I think the European's correct. The trough's going to rotate around like that. Okay, and if we had blocking in eastern Canada or 50-50 low by Newfoundland, this thing would rotate around and close off, and the Northeast and New England would get a major storm out of it. But then again, if my grandmother had, well, whatever. So the point is
Right.
that it's just going to rotate around, and I think the European solution is good. So.
Okay. Well,
I think the NAM recently has had, no pun intended, the hot hand, although in terms of
Yes, I agree.
forecasts.
Well,
What's the other
since you brought it up, Joe, I'm going to bring because a few people have been asking about it. I'm going to bring up the 12Z NAM. Go ahead, continue with your thought.
Well, as I said, I've liked the NAM and the way it has been performing over the last couple of weeks, and I'm sure Dave will have something to say about this comment, that I think that since the early part of this year, the GFS has suffered because it's been doged, so to speak.
There's some argument to be saying about that, and I definitely see the NAM done better. I've been impressed with the 12-kilometer NAM. I'm not a big fan of it, but it's done pretty good. It's always way too wet, but it's got the right idea. The 33-kilometer NAM within 48 hours has been bang on the mark, almost with every event I've had down here. So, yeah, I'm a big believer in the NAM. By the way, at the end of this, I don't know if you know, but there's some significant model information which is coming out. The National Weather Service is coming out with 3 new AI models in the next week or so, which you should be able to get online. I don't know if anybody has seen this or not. It is, let me take a look, see here. Where is it? Here, it's okay.
Hold on for a second. CC 19524, and we know that's Tom Contino. He says, Rayo, there's absolutely no evidence that the GFS has been doged. And yet, Dave, I think on your weather risk site, you had presented several months ago a graph showing the performance of the GFS before and after the budget cuts, which took away a number of the balloons, the radiosonde observations in the nation's midsection, and of course here in the Northeast. I think Albany is only sending up 1 balloon per day now, as opposed to the 2. And I think there was a fair amount of evidence that because of that the performance of the GFS, and I've noticed through the summer and on into the fall, that the GFS certainly has not been doing what we were accustomed to seeing doing, especially when you go much beyond 2 or 3 days. I mean, forget about it. If you're going to rely on the GFS to make a forecast, let's say 5 or even 10 or 15 days out, well, of course, it never was able to make a good forecast 15 days out. But I mean, like, it really, you could see the performance of the GFS.
That's been awful.
It's
been
terrible. Yep. I'm not sure how much of it. I mean, so I know when they declared the National Weather Service to be a critical government function. And so you can no longer have massive layoffs like that or cut down the infrastructure, because that's what they did. Remember, several months ago, after all this debate, they qualified the National Weather Service to be a critical government function, like the Marines or the Army. Okay, so it has to stay they have to stay funded. So that's the good news about that. The balloons missing data from the balloons, I mean, obviously had an impact. And anybody argues that point is simply arguing politics, not arguing reality. We all know that if you can have less data going into the model can't possibly be as accurate. I mean, this is basic. If you're going to argue that that's not the case, then you're not talking about meteorology, you're talking about politics. So that's that. Now,
I agree.
I don't know if
look,
I don't know if the balloons have come back, but maybe I don't know if some of the balloons have come back. They might have. And the other difference is that the model resolution on the GFS is not as nearly as high as it is on the European. So when you down to one balloon, let's assume they bring back some of the sounds and the balloons, but they're only doing it once a day instead of twice a day. Okay, when a higher resolution, that missing data becomes much more important than compared to a model for smaller resolution. So that also would be a problem down the road as well. So, in any event, that's been all the time.
No, the GFS has always been, has been one step behind before all of this, and it has really, really gotten bad, pretty much. It just has. I certainly wouldn't argue that the cuts and the lack of the taking away of the balloons, it has to have caused a problem. It just has to. All right, let's get back to this and get off the politics. This was the 12Z NAM, which actually I thought was pretty aggressive. Certainly with the precip, you were saying how it does like to be on the wet side, and it had a band of. But it also showed that band of 6, a 3 to 5, 4 to 6 inch band setting up across northern New Jersey and Long Island, and it also pops a nice surface low, and it takes The thing that struck me was that if the 12Z NAM is correct, it would be snowing almost till like 5 or 6 o'clock. It would be snowing till 7 o'clock on Long Island.
We're looking at some cases. At the 12Z NAM, we're looking at a 12 to 18 hour duration snowfall.
Right.
And, meanwhile, we've got some of the other models that have the storm further south and east. And I'm not saying giving us a glancing blow, but a much shorter duration, like let's say moving in around midnight and moving out by, let's say, 10 o'clock in the morning. That's like more like an 8 or 9 hour duration event.
And that's the one. I'm kind of leaning in that direction. And by the way, the 18Z NAM, I think, corrected for a lot of what the 12Z was showing. It kind of lines up and looks more like the European and the Icon this afternoon. So I kind of think that this idea, and it doesn't have it snowing on Long Island until 7 o'clock tomorrow night, but it certainly has it snowing until about noontime. It also brings it in a little faster. It brings it in around 11 o'clock tomorrow night. So it had slightly lower amounts, and it pushed the max area a little bit further to the south. And I think that's certainly a possibility.
Yeah, I think it's very reasonable. Now, Joe, Rayo, you mentioned you had 1 to 2 inches. That was for the Hudson Valley, not, let's say, New York or Long Island, correct?
Correct. That was yeah, but you know what? All right. Instead of maybe
I just want to make sure I understood what you're saying.
Maybe like 2 or 3 inches for areas from New York City on south. Unless we have what the NAM has been suggesting, which is a very long duration event. I mean, 12 to 18 hours. It's pretty hard to get only an inch or two. If you had that long a duration of snow, even if it was coming down at the rate of like a quarter of an inch or half an inch an hour, you're going to have a lot more than an inch or two. So everything is going to really be determining. The factor is, the duration, how quickly this wave moves, when the explosion or when the bombing out, so to speak, of the system. But again, when we look at the upper air in a few moments, a little bit, you'll see that we're still talking about a more or less a positively tilted to neutral trough. It really doesn't go negative until after the system passes us by and is out over the ocean. And then you really see it start revving up.
Right. Well, that's why I like the European solution. The European solution is about a 10 or 12 hour event. It could come in, the 18Z European has it in New York City by, let's see here, by until 3 a.m. Sunday.
Yeah, and it's done by noonish.
Right. So we're talking 9, 10 hour event. And 3, 4, or 5 inches of snow, but that's very possible.
Yeah. It's also
That's
going to be interesting.
reasonable.
It's going to be also interesting to see that the temperatures are actually going to be falling through all of this. I mean,
Right.
not plummeting, but they're going to be falling. It'll be down. The
Yeah.
temperatures will be dropped by the time it's over with. We'll be probably down in the low and mid 20s in a lot of places. So
Yeah.
there'll be some fluff factor developing in there too. So that I think is going to be part of the equation, which could mean for some upside. But I said a few nights ago that we're going to get something, and this is what I did. I put my early call up, and I kept it simple for now because I was just trying to digest and I did this map. I drew this map after the dayside guidance came in. So I basically have a 2 inch line across the North Shore of Long Island, just south of Route 78, and from there south 2 to 3, maybe 4. I didn't want to go overboard, if only because of the fact that it's Thursday. I don't have to put out a final call until Saturday. So there's room here for me to go up or down. If I need to go up, I'll go up. So I'm just start. This is sort of my base case. Let's start with this and then go from there.
Yeah. They're very, very reasonable.
Yeah. So easy enough. I got Washington and Baltimore in the 2 zone. I have Philadelphia, Trenton in the two plus zone, I should say, 2+ zone. Uh, and New York City just kind of cuts right across there. I could have put that line further north or a little further south. Who knows where it's going to be? No, I've said for no longest time, I don't think there's ever been a perfect snowfall forecast map put out by anybody.
Yeah. I mean,
Did
I
I
like to say
stun? Did I stun
I
you
like
to
to say
silence?
I like to say I do that all the time, but come on, that's
Yeah, I
bullshit.
know
So
you'd
I'm not.
like to say it, but we know that the fact is when you're forecasting for even a small geographic area, you're not going to be able to get the variability that occurs when you get these snow events.
Yes, of course. So no,
It's like pulling
absolutely
teeth. It's like pulling teeth for you to be modest.
no. Let me be modest, but only when there's enough, poignant for me. Just
Yeah, I understand. Okay, very good. Um, Here's what the Weather Service did, and I got the digital off the digital forecast. It's kind of the same idea. They sort of splashed on a general, an inch or so as you go north, especially from Route 84 north, and 2 inches, 3 inches for Long Island, 3 inches across central and South Jersey, down into Maryland and around the Washington D.C. Baltimore area. I don't think you can, I don't have any problem with this particular forecast.
No,
yeah,
I would join in with that. I really don't think we're going to be looking at a tremendous amount of snow. I mean, some of the TV stations here in the New York area are already playing this up as oh, we got a snowstorm coming. It could be and it's come on, it's like an inch or two, maybe three, but that's nothing's going to be paralyzing. Your ability to get your Sunday morning newspaper or your Danish if you get that. Like I used to when I was a kid, we used to have we go to the bakery and get Danish for Sunday in the afternoon. It's gonna be it'll be nice. You wake up on Sunday morning, there'll be some snow out
And it'll
there,
be pretty.
and it'll be pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. WPC has got a pretty map tonight, and I have it up. This is the 24-hour probability for at least 2 inches. The the dark blue is 40 to 50. The next shade of blue is 50 to 60. That light blue that you see is, I'm sorry, let me start this again. 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70. Okay, so that lightish blue is 60 to 70. I thought it was 70 to 80. I must have did it wrong. But anyway, you see what they got here, basically from coastal Connecticut down to north central Virginia, inside. My general rule is where the blues start is where I would put the 2 inch line.
right.
I use that 40 to 50% as my guidepost. If the probability is up at that level, to me that's good enough to put enough confidence to lay the 2 inch line through there. And the probability for 4, let's see if I can do this. Yes, they actually added a probability for 4. They also talked about the fact that some of the European ensembles were more aggressively operational on their discussion, but they do have a 30 to 40% chance for at least 4. It looks like from maybe close from Baltimore to Philadelphia in that
Right.
zone, including northern Delaware, and
Yeah.
the 20 to 30% for at least 4, reaching up to Staten Island and to almost to Route 80 in New Jersey.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
uh, this is their starter. We'll see what they do with this tomorrow. So again, this is figure from midnight to noon, folks. This is where we think there's going to be a window for snow, and numbers might get adjusted a little higher going forward. Maybe they get adjusted a little lower. We'll see how that goes. Scott Briller hits the tip jar, and he asks Dave, he's asking you, who gets more snow this winter, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, or Richmond? So far, you're winning.
Rich,
So far, Richmond's
uh,
winning.
Richmond, so far, Richmond's winning. Who gets more? I don't know. I would, if I had to make a guess, I would say New York or Boston.
Okay, there you go. All
So,
right, so you ready to do some long range?
I was born ready.
Okay, so as we get into it, I want to ask a question right off the bat, and it has to do with the MJO because
Yeah.
I'm trying to. Yeah. Well, yes and
It,
no. Yes and no. Um,
it turned into neutral circle, folks, and I did not
right.
think that was going to happen.
So this is the Europeans' version of the Madden-Julian oscillation.
Right.
For those of you not familiar with it, just all you really need to know is that when it's in phases 8, 1, and 2, it's cold in the east. Sometimes it's also in 3. And if it's in 4, 5, 6, and part of 7, it's usually warm in the east. Now, I've seen so much crap on social media. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And I keep saying I keep saying how low is it ever going to get, because it just gets lower and lower. So um, it's in the neutral zone right now,
Right. It's
right?
neutral
Which
circle.
which means that it's sort of indeterminate. There's nothing, no special trend, okay, other than
Right.
whatever current trend that you're in. Now, it's forecast, if I'm reading this correctly, to move back out into phase 8 in a couple of days.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then it
And
kind of
then after,
meanders. Then it kind of meanders around, and it goes barely back into 7
right.
around before Christmas, but it's down close to the zone of 8 and close to the neutral zone. So,
Right.
so
Now,
this
if you look at, can you look at the other one they have next to it is the monthly one, which goes out to early January.
okay.
And so if you click back, you'll see the next one there next to it. It's European longer range. And that it also does the same thing. It goes back and forth, the neutral circle 8, back and forth. So the thing what's telling me is that, if you look at the long range models, you'll see this, this constant blowtorch. The polar vortex, rotates back up in northern Canada and becomes shaped like a giant football.
Yeah,
Becomes elongated.
but it doesn't stay that way.
Well, what happens is that whenever the polar vortex is like that and it's shaped like a giant circle,
Right.
then what happens that means it takes, but that's the difference. So if you go back to the, yeah,
I'm going to I'm bringing up the 10 millibar.
okay,
And okay, so yeah, it starts to migrate back up over Greenland and near the poles, but it
right,
never really gets to like a totally circular look to it. It sort of does, but not. I mean, I've seen it really wrapped up like a tight little ball. This is not, anywhere
right,
close to that. But other than that, before today, uh, I noticed that on some of the runs from back a last couple of days, that by the time we get to Christmas, it starts stretching north south again. So I wasn't particularly too bearish on the look of this. I mean, here's the 12Z, which I think is better than the 18Z, and it's got more of a stretch and a tilt to it. So
yes,
I don't necessarily think that that's terrible, but I just want to go back to the MJO. My question is that, okay, so when it goes into phase 8, it doesn't mean that it automatically becomes cold in the east at the moment the MJO goes in phase 8. Doesn't that all have to rip, whatever's going on in the Western
Yes.
Pacific, doesn't that have to all ripple down the,
Yeah, yes, it can take several days. To me, what's important is that if you look at the global models, at 500, you see that the polar vortex retreats up to the Baffin Island, which is that big island on top of Hudson's Bay, right?
Right.
And then it becomes shaped like a football, like an oval. Now, whenever that happens, remember you want the polar vortex to be going north to south. But instead, what it looks like, if you get 215 hours, you look at 300 hours on the ensembles, you'll see that it's all shaped like a football.
Okay.
What that means is that the Pacific jet's taken over. You have Pacific air going from California to the East Coast. There's no trough on the East Coast. It's just one giant ridge running from California, and it's a warm pattern going into Christmas. That's what that means. Now, if we do bounce back into phase 8, then presumably the models are going to have to reflect it at some point. Because if the MJO says we're going to bounce back into phase 8, then we can't be quite that warm. Now, we may not be cold and snowy or stormy, but if we're going to bounce back into phase 8, that's going to, the idea that it's just going to lock in and stay warm, let's say from December 17 to December 25 or December 28, that strikes me as unsubstantiated at this point. Maybe that's true, but not if the MJO keeps bouncing back and forth into phase 8.
Okay. Well, and one other thing. So I'm going to show you. I'm showing two things now. So here's the GFS. I'll just make it even with the European, by the way. So here's the GFS at 360.
Right.
Trough in the west. Upper ridging building in the east. Yeah. It also has a closed upper low that's moving westward across Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, and so on. Okay. All right.
Yes,
now, the European today for the same period. Okay, the European for the same period. I got to go back to the 12Z. Same time frame, same period.
Yeah, you see the dark blue there.
The European's got a trough in the east and a ridge in the west.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you say that if we're going into phase 8 again, that the European
That's correct. That's correct. That's the difference of it. That's the difference of it. It sees it and reacts to it. That's exactly right. Now go back. That's 360 hours. Go to 240 hours per second.
On the European, yes.
Yeah, go to 240.
Okay. It's there.
There it is. Okay, you see the big dark blue, folks, over in northern Canada?
Yes.
Okay, that's a polar vortex, and you see how it's oriented west to east. Okay, whenever you have that you now have a Pacific jet overrunning the country from the eastern Pacific through the Midwest all the way to the East Coast. The lines keep all the cold air blocked north of the U.S.-Canada border based upon that. It's just mild Pacific air for everybody. Wear the Bermuda shorts if nothing's happening, okay? Because that's what that is. Now, later on, like we showed, it does show the trough coming back into the east, which reflects phase 8. So that's what the European does that the GFS doesn't pick up on. That's one of the reasons why it's better long range. That's one of the reasons why it's better.
It's also building heights. It's got a big positive height anomaly over Iceland pushing into Greenland at the same time.
Yeah.
You see it?
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
Okay.
So,
all right. So you're still moderately. Characterize you as being moderately bullish on this moderation that we're going to be seeing is temporary, and that there's potential for the pattern that we've been in to basically reload again after this is all played through.
Yes. Now, somebody asked me in the chat, I saw that they asked about the National Weather Service saying La Nina is going to last all winter. Okay, and that's bullshit. That's just my view. Somebody asked me what's my opinion about it. That's Bravo Sierra. It's not true. If you can call up the CFS, Joe, and place it on there, you'll see that the CFS it's over by January. It's a neutral zone. So I'm not sure what the National Weather Service is saying. Maybe they're saying the effects of La Nina on the atmosphere is going to last all winter. Maybe that's what they're saying, but really, I couldn't make that out from their press statement today that they issued. So, but clearly, La Nina does not last in January. It just doesn't. I'm sorry, that's not what the data showed, and that's their own data. It's not my data. It's the CFS. So, okay.
All right, that's it. Fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, Joe Rayo, Mr. Briller, who hit the tip jar a second time, would like you, if you could, to show your the Omega for Saturday into Sunday, if there is any Omega.
I saw the reference to that, and here indeed it is. If you're looking right now, it should be on the screen.
There we go. It's on the screen.
And I will make it a little larger. You can see now. This is the NAM 12Z run. This is the one that provided us with a long duration snowfall.
Yeah, that's a lot of velocity there, baby.
And about 7 a.m. on Sunday morning, you can see it sideswiping the south coast of Long Island and is across the central part and southern parts of New Jersey. That is the area of atmospheric energy, or the Omega, as we call it, or the FGen. This is the FGen map. And if we go forward from here, and the one thing is when you go this far out, the hours go in increments of 6. When we get really close, we'll be able to use maps like this in increments of like 1 hour, which will really be interesting. But the next one actually is 3 hours. This is 15Z or 10 a.m. on Sunday, and you can see there's a lot of scattering of this activity. Look at all this down here to the south and west. And if we get to 1 o'clock on Sunday, all of a sudden we have this whole massive area north of New York City up into western Massachusetts, and also from about Albany to Pittsfield, and then on to north of Interstate 90. And I don't know where that came from, because, as I said, 3 hours earlier, there really wasn't much to show here. There was a little bit of Omega here and in northeastern Pennsylvania, but then suddenly you get all of this. And when we get to 7 p.m. on Sunday, look at all this. I mean, out to sea and also north and east of New York City. I'm not exactly sure how to read into this, although you can see the isotherms indicating the big trough that is like a pendulum swinging from left to right. This is that positively tilted trough, and as we move a little bit, I don't know why it's not moving. Come on. For some reason, all of a sudden, the arrows... All right. Boom. Oh, I guess it doesn't go... Oh, yeah. Well, of course, at 84 hours. That's why it's not moving, because I went as far as it could possibly go. But you could see that in the wake of all of this, look, these isotherms, this is the 700 millibar level, and this is what? This is minus 27 degrees Celsius. Temperature sweeping across western and central sections of Pennsylvania. So you can see that in the wake of whatever we get late Saturday night into early Sunday, it is going to turn noticeably colder. What else is new? Probably along with some gusty winds from later Sunday into Sunday night, and probably on into Monday as well.
By the way, if you want,
those very strong photogenetic forcing, the purple band you talked about there, Joe, that shows up there mysteriously, that's associated, I think, with the Arctic front sweeping through. I think that's what that is.
Okay.
So
yeah, I think we're gonna. The trough is so dynamic. The upper disturbance is so dynamic that after we get after the steady light snow ends in the early part of the day on Sunday, if it indeed ends around that time, don't be surprised if later in the day, as that system overhead comes swirling around, that we get a little outbreak of maybe snow showers or flurries or associated with that. It's not out of the question.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I think we covered a lot tonight.
Yes. Let me just tell folks about what's going on here with NOAA.
Okay.
And the new models that are coming out. On December 17th, they have a new model called the AI GFS. This is an AI version of the GFS. It's built upon the Google DeepMind GraphCast model and is trained on a mixture of the GFS data plus the European ERA data and high resolution. It will run 4 times a day out to 6 hour and 6-hour time increments out to 16 days. Then they're also running the AI GEFS, which is the same thing. It will have 31 different members out to 16 days. They're also running a high resolution GFS ensemble, which takes the 31 AI members of the GFS and combines them with the 31 traditional members of the regular GFS. So they're mixing both things together to give you 62 members of a grand ensemble. And this will go out, but that will go out to 10 days. So I believe this will be available to the public for comment and looking at on December 17th, starting December 17th. So we'll see what that looks like, whether it helps or not. The GFS ensemble is clearly much better, in my view, longer range than the operational model. So, and having the GraphCast as an ensemble, that strikes me as a good thing because the GraphCast is pretty good. It's substantially better than regular GFS. So we'll see if this matters, but they're trying something new. So let's see what happens.
All right, good. No, well, just what
I'm excited.
Just what we need. It's going to take you a week to go through all the models to forecast an hour from now.
Yeah,
that's right. Am I right, though?
And that's why I say that. And that's why I say, like 50 to 75 years from now, when we're all long gone, weather will be, I think, forecasted by one singular model. Maybe they'll call it the universal model, and they'll laugh at us. They'll say, "Ha! You see what they used to do 50, 75 years ago? They used to look at the Japanese model,
I don't
the
think
Canadian model, the GFS."
I do not agree with you on this notion. I think that there's always going to be somebody out there or some new technology out there, and for somebody to come along and say, I can do it better and make a better model. And other people will follow suit.
Right.
It's the nature of what we do. It's the nature of the economy. It's very creative, very intelligent people who see this as a challenge, and they're going to look at something like that. And I mean, I don't think you'll ever even get to that point. There's just too many people trying to come up with the best model, and they're all going to keep trying to outdo as one comes out as the new best model. Somebody's going to come along and create a better best model. So I don't agree there's going to be one universal model. I don't.
Don't you wish that there was possible for us to go back in time, with all of what we know of past historical storms? Maybe even we could bring a notebook or something with us, and we go back, let's say, to the mid-1960s, and we know it's history. We know that it has happened or it's about to happen, and we go to all of these media sites, either newspapers or TV or radio stations, and tell them, for example, on this day, February the 9th, 1969, we're going to have a massive snowstorm. It's going to cripple, and you tell them and they don't believe you, but you're right. And then they suddenly take notice. And then you throw a few more major storms at them that you're 100% right about somehow or other. And all of a sudden now you're deemed like the wizard, so to speak. This guy is always accurate. He's always 100% because you have knowledge of all of these weather events that have already taken place. But now again, you're back in time and you're doing it. I will tell you this: if you had that power and ability now, if you, Dave, or Joe, or myself, or whatever, if we knew about future storms in that manner of speaking, and that we would always be 100% right, we still wouldn't be able to get a job on television.
Exactly.
You don't have the look, unfortunately. Right. Oh yeah, you know your stuff, right? But I don't think the demographics would want you on television.
You don't have the look. You don't have the curves. You don't have whatever it is that they're looking for. You just don't have it. Okay. Even when you had it, they told you didn't have it. So that's just the nature of that business.
Well, I like to think.
Hey, Dave.
I don't know. I look pretty good in the skirt.
Oh, the visual is, you know, that visual now I'll never be able to unthink it, I
Anyway,
guess. All right. Well, I'm glad.
Infomax
there you
240,
go.
Um,
Infomax 247 is asking, is Bob Harris long gone or still
Uh,
with us? I
I'm
can
stuck.
assure you, Bob Harris is alive and well. I have not been in touch with him for a little while, a couple of months, but the last time I spoke with him and I asked him if he would want to be on the Joe and Joe show or when we had the Weather Legend show, and he said, I really don't feel confident to do anything like that at this time. I'm just trying to negotiate the fact that I'm in my 80s now, but he is still alive, still kicking, and still around with us. Bob Harris is.
by the way, Joe, I got to ask you. I'm not going to say the person's name, but did you respond to that email?
No, actually, I haven't. Not yet. I will get when I have his phone number, and that's how he prefers to have contact. And I will send him a text, but I haven't had the time this week. You
Okay.
know,
No, no,
he
I'm just
hasn't had
kind
the
of
time.
curious.
He hasn't had the time in the last 3 years. I just don't have the time this week. Maybe next week.
David, I love you. Thanks for being here as always.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Who
Well,
doesn't?
how much time have you
Really,
got? How much time have you got?
gotta go.
Um, so we'll see you maybe next. What's better for you, Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday, just to be got a lot of storms, and I need a
Well,
day.
that's what I
No,
figured.
so next one.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, just we'll try and shoot for next Wednesday again, and if you've got an issue, just let me know ahead of time. Joe and I are going to be on Saturday evening. Okay.
Oh,
Um, Joe and I are going to be here
okay.
Saturday evening. We're going to do a 7 o'clock show. So just letting everybody know there is going to be a show Saturday
I'm not
evening
sure
at
I'll be
7
back. I planned Saturday evening. I don't
Well,
know
I
if I'll be
wasn't.
back by
I
then, but
wasn't. I wasn't asking you. I wasn't inviting you
okay.
to the Saturday show.
And
So
somebody asked in the chat, "Do I know who Bob Harris is?" Come on, boys and girls. Of course I knew Bob Harris.
yeah.
I grew up watching Bob Harris.
So
So
anyway, Joe and I will be here at
yes, of
7
course I know.
o'clock on Saturday, and we'll probably be here 7 o'clock on Sunday, unless for some reason we're totally wiped out. So we'll see everybody on Saturday. Did we get 100 likes?
I see on my counter 86. Let me
I
just
thought
refresh.
somebody on the chat board, I think, said a little while ago, said 92, 95.
90, it's up to 97. Now it clicked off to 98. So
Okay,
we're
so
two away
just
from 100.
okay, so two of you that are watching the show, can you just click that like button and take us over 100 before we go over the air, please?
I'm just
I beg of you. I want to go smoke my cigar and have my
There we
glass of
go.
wine. Thank
We did
you.
it. 109.
All right, thank
Fourth
you, Mike.
consecutive, our fourth consecutive day of above 100. Thank you
Oh,
very,
and
very much.
there you go.
we go over 100 every day after we go over the air. When people are watching it later on tonight, or even first thing in the morning on the next day. So we go over 100 likes almost every day. It's just that we like to go over 100 likes while we're on the show, and we're up to 120 now. So thanks,
Sure.
everybody.
122, actually.
Yes, very good. All right, so everybody have a great week, a great night. We'll see you Saturday night at 7 o'clock. And in the meantime, I'll be posting stuff on YouTube in the community page. I do my regular morning video, Weather in a Minute. You can watch it there. You can watch that too, and post your comments or whatever you want. So we'll see you on Saturday. Bye.
All right. Bye, boys and girls.